Good evening. It's some little after 5 o'clock. It's almost sunset. Friday the 20th. I'd really like to finish trying to get into the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but the last video I posted up on Community Post, which you should get automatically if you're a subscriber, just started me thinking. It's right after watching that video, I asked Google. I am always young. Uh, no, I'm not going to restart. I got to keep focused here because this is elaborate. It sounds paranoid. Anyway, I asked Google a question. Is Baylor Scott and White owned by United Healthcare? They didn't say no, but the first, not unsponsored, in other words, not an answer that comes up was that Scott and White went into an alliance, a healthcare alliance with United Health Group, which owns Optum and owns hospitals and stuff, and by the year that Trump got elected, right at around the time that the first good vacation that YouTube gave me, I spent those 2 weeks mostly watching congressional interrogations, asking people like Anthony Fauci whether or not that was the $900,000 they held up a check or a facsimile of a check that went to the Wuhan laboratory, whether or not that was for the gain of function research going on in that Wuhan lab next to the wet market. It's funny how that works. See, I'm an Aggie, and I've learned to distrust Texas A&M as an institution because they're not loyal, and I have all the reasons on earth to believe the stories and the lack of evidence, especially the obituary of a young man being cut out of the Bryan Daily Eagle. Yeah, it was cut out, and I even showed it to the it's in the reserve research. It's the area of the section of the library. I showed it. She said, "Well, no." I said, "Look on the other side of the page. It's right in the middle of about a 60-inch, right in the middle of a major article. They cut out before it was sent to the microfilmers at the Ellis unit of the Texas Department of Corrections. All is for all newspapers." All the testimony I've heard was that I won't go ahead and name him. He's still alive, and he has a Down syndrome son. That tells you who it is. He was a contemporary of my brother Charlie. He's in easily his mid-80s by now. That he and the late coach Elmer Smith beat a young player to death who was alleged said something about Stallings' mentally challenged son, his Down syndrome boy, when there's no evidence to support that it was just a senior player who was worried about a junior player taking his place. And a beating to death looks like the same as a death. And the funny thing is, my brother Rolf, that's one of the reasons I'm on the street, is I've talked about this before. My brother Rolf, I got a call from somebody claiming to be at the university clinic saying my brother had a reaction to penicillin or something, and maybe he would be in the hospital a few days, but everything would be okay. No, my deduction is that they locked up about the 100 people who knew, because somebody had to carry that body down. And Gene Stallings, I'm going to go ahead and name him. Gene Stallings, Elmer Smith wasn't going to do it. I got a feeling my brother Rolf did it, because Rolf was real high after a game. I think it was a Philadelphia game, San Francisco versus Philadelphia. And we were living together. Yeah, didn't see each other much. We just My brother is the lonely type. He's the one that asked me. I didn't. He asked me to come live with him. I was actually across the bay going to college, and as soon as anyway, he was stoned out of his fucking head on opioids, and he told me part of the story. He didn't tell me that the kid died. Ted Davis said he was beaten to death, and all of the evidence, especially the obituary that was cut out of the newspaper before being sent to the microfilmers. And the Eagle has the only other copy, has the only actual physical copy. And they won't let you touch it. You have to be a friend of the Eagle, the Brian Daily Eagle, now just known as the Eagle. But I think I'm in a real crock of shit right now. Because a long time ago, that's when that was part of the political situation. As my doctor for 20 years, he and I kind of had a falling out, and then he left the clinic. Actually, one doctor who ended up being a major executive in the Catholic CHI St. Joseph system, Dr. Parsi, we were always real friendly. And actually, right after me and my doctor split up, Dr. Parsi threatened to resign. And nope, my doctor, Scott Chenault, resigned, and Parsi stayed. This shit gets so twisted when you look at it. And they brought in a guy who actually trained at his internship in the Silesian coal basin of Poland, Winkler. And he was like a dick from the start, and it's actually a girl. So I got pushed out of the Catholic system, and actually just before gain of function SARS COVID-19, that's what Congress calls it. That's what many congressmen and senators call it, based on the evidence that they have in front of them. So good luck on getting a strike on me on that one. I'm quoting directly from videos that are already on YouTube and never been taken down. I have the right to ask questions. Isn't it kind of funny that Baylor Scott and White, the number one in America, goes into a corporate alliance with the largest insurance group? I never really heard of them. I know they're supposed to be a division or subsidiary of MetLife, but it's United Healthcare Group. United Healthcare. And I really don't stay on top. I don't really investigate things until I have to. And then usually when I do, there's plenty of evidence there. It really looks like now that both of the health systems that I've been in, perhaps all of them, are in alliance with this mega monster that certainly made a shit ton of, like at A&M, A&M, Baylor, Scott and White, even though Baylor is a competing university, I had to remind my best friend Bruno is that, to my knowledge, that Baylor, Scott and White hospitals, the largest in Texas, are the official training ground for what is a relatively new, it's only about 30 years old, the College of Medicine at A&M. A&M had all sorts of engineering and agricultural and other stuff and veterinary, but didn't really develop a law program or a medical program until the beginning in the late 80s and early 90s, and then they went into alliance with Baylor, Scott and White, and they teach but almost no doctor I run into at Baylor, Scott and White, except maybe one, has been an Aggie. So my point is that Trump gets elected. He goes through his 4 years as the Wuhan labs working on all these SARS viruses and the stuff. Then right towards the end, it's suddenly announced that A&M gets the Moderna contract. Not Pfizer, gets the Moderna contract for a Moderna vaccine. Trump came to visit A&M, remember posting that on Facebook many times. They actually visited A&M while they were working on the Moderna vaccine, which seems to, pretty much disappeared from the news. I don't know much about it. I'm afraid of looking because when I go looking for stuff on Google, just like when I was trying to look up avocado oil processing and stuff, how do they, sometimes the results are not very palatable, let's say, to be as polite as possible. But then Trump was looking at this. See, the reason I'm pointing at this is that because the SARS-CoV-19 event, despite its statistical irrelevance numerically compared to this, the percentage of the population, healthy population that was lost was negligible. And then mostly older folks or young people that were already ill or had real weak immune systems, or they died because the government crowded them into, you know, nursing homes and stuff like that. Uh, but that event was probably the biggest single event that transferred more wealth from taxpayers to private parties in ever in history. I'm really not at this point going to venture into any conjecture or anything. I'm just going to present the facts as I recall them. And I have to sit here and wonder whether or not I should even make my next doctor's appointment, which is paid for by taxpayers, they say, and is with the number one healthcare system, which is in bed with the company whose CEO just got shot for denial of claims. And people wonder why I've been sitting under this tree here in Pflugerville for 530 days. Actually, now a total of, I'm almost closing in on 23 months since injury. There's still a torn ligament in my shoulder, and nowhere in Scott and White records do they, all of those MRIs that were shot by Scott and White, St. David's, nowhere in those notes and stuff can I find any admission that that ligament is torn. They're not willing to spend a few $1,000s to preserve my life. I could easily live, given my blood chemistry. My only real problem is mechanical, structural. I'm in excellent health otherwise. And I only take one medication daily, and when needed, like today, because I got everything sorted. I went shopping, I did all kind of lifting, resorting, I got everything. It would only take a few $1,000, but see, that's what they don't want to do that. They want more taxpayer and more, they just don't want to. They want to just, I'm assuming now, I'm venturing, I'm not obeying my own words. I said I wouldn't get into conjecture. But one is forced to assume that, like in other countries where they do have, public health service and stuff, that at my age, they want to see if you're going to die. When all of my medical tests say that he's not going to die anytime soon. I have this funny feeling I'm not going to be making my next medical appointment, which is like 20 days away. 19 days away, actually. Might do it just for kicks. Go in and sit there and just be quiet as a rock. Maybe I'll do that. We'll see what happens. But right now, my trust in the healthcare system of America can be measured in nanometers. That's all I really got to say. And if you trust your doctor like that young woman that was here, I think last evening or something like that, trying to give her 18 medications, I think it's because she may have that tri-party that I think she's on her parents' insurance. And she's 25. She gets to stay on it for at least another year or something like that, or more, depending if the parents pay it. They can be on there indefinitely. That would explain the imported car. Maybe they got it while overseas in the military, or he or she. I don't know which parent or. But America has really failed me. The level of corruption in this country, I don't know if America is salvageable. Even if we classical liberals, which the Republicans are not, they're centrist appeasers. They're not extremists. Libertarians are extremists. The Javier Milei thing isn't going to happen here. Libertarianism isn't going to gain a foothold because of the schism within their own, because part of their group is super leftard, and the other part is complete anarchists. I have the stink coming out of some of these vehicles and shit, chemically evidence. So it looks like it's all on me again. And I've wasted so much time. Now I need to really plot what is my next move. Do I stay in Pflugerville tied to those 16 foods that I've picked out? It's right around 16, 17, something. Beef being a wide variety of, between 10 to another. Or do I go someplace where people, once again, are not going to like me? Seems to be a lot of people here that like me. I think I'm going to stay where I'm at, but I'm a bit disappointed. I don't think President Trump can act quickly enough because there'll get to a point to where repair of my shoulder will just be based on what I've read, when they're talking about, like, it's actually the structure on the end that I've got about something like 30, they said 30 to 40% of the bone has been eroded away from me using that joint, powerlifting, playing football, impact, Joe, that one just popped too. That's my good one. So that's what they were going to do, is some kind of arthroplasty or something. They were going to move some muscles around and just give me more strength and range of motion. But apparently Medicare seems to be nothing but private subcontractors, and one of them is United Healthcare Group. Step number one, President Trump, if you really got the balls, you need to step in and just say healthcare is going to be not-for-profit from now on. Insurance companies are going to be not-for-profit. See, that goes against that whole free market thing, right? But have you got a better suggestion than that? Yeah, those people will flee. But then what else are they going to do other than become Starbucks baristas? I think most of them will stay because of the prestige with the job. They're just going to have to accept less money and suck it up like the rest of us. I guess I'm going to end it here. I think I got a pretty good idea of what happened during that event known as SARS, sudden acute respiratory COVID-19 virus with the gain of function. And I'm thinking about all those people that benefited from $7 to $10 trillion. We're now like at least a year and a half of full gross domestic product in debt. When can that ever be paid off? Not in your grandchildren's or great grandchildren's lifetime. It ain't happening. The situation is calling for radical action, and all we're going to get is Trump, the centrist appeaser. Trump is not right wing, and Trump is not a true classical liberal. I'm proud to be a Texan, but I'm not sure if I'm proud to be an American anymore.